says of yesterday's program, the Court of Public Opinion, we were talking about the problems with Aboriginal people. And Frank makes the point here. The simple thing is that you can be given opportunity, but you must take it. Well, what's wrong? What are we doing wrong? Anyway, we'll talk some more about that whole Stan Grant thing in a second or two. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton is with me. We're in the Court of Public Opinion in the garage. It's another chilly afternoon. It's the end of the week. But before we get stuck into other stuff, happy birthday, happy wedding anniversary. If it's a day of celebration, may it be a really great one for you. May the 26th. John Wayne. John Wayne, I don't know that he was a great actor. What do you reckon, Pete?
No, not overly, no.
No, but he played himself. And he was sort of the right man in the right place at the right time and had the common sense to recognise, grab the opportunity.
Didn't he start out as a stuntman?
I can't remember.
I think he started...
Harrison Ford was a carpenter, and he was working on the Star Wars site when George Lucas discovered him or said, listen, hey, could you stand in and do this? And away he went. And, you know, there's a lovely story here in Adelaide about John Doherty, who was the newsreader, the doyen of newsreaders in South Australia on Channel 9. And it was just beginning. Rupert Murdoch, I think, was the owner of the station at the time. And they were looking for somebody to stand in as the newsreader because they didn't quite have one ready. And John was a stagehand. John Doherty was a stagehand. And they put him behind the desk so they could line up the shots and do the lighting and stuff. And he read a bit of news, and somebody had the common sense to say, hey, this guy's good. And he was there for, I think, 30 years. You know, right place, right time. Grab the opportunity. Grab it. Anyway, John Wayne, American actor, Green Beret, True Grit, born. Came to Australia for the Logies and to film a Grosby shoe commercial. I guess he figured nobody would ever see it. Anyway, he died in 1979, the great John Wayne. Wore a toupee for most of his life, and not a very good one either, I must tell you. He was in the Alamo. What else about John Wayne? His real name was Marion. Do you remember? Pete?
No, I remember now that you say Marion, but no, I don't.
His first name was Marion, which doesn't strike me as being a particularly macho name. Well, good name for a boy, anyway. Marion, we'll find out by Monday. It's all right. 1907, happy birthday, John Wayne. We love you dearly. Apollo 10 astronauts returned to Earth, 1969. Yep. 1948, Stephanie, well, she was better known as Stevie Nicks, American rock singer, songwriter, Fleetwood Mac. Lots of wonderful songs. She was born 1948. Dracula, by English author Bram Stoker, published by Archibald Constable and Company in London on this day in 1897. Al Jolson, American, it was actually American-Lithuanian jazz singer, silent film actor. In fact, Al Jolson, of course, was the person who presented the very first talkie, which was the jazz singer. Doesn't mention here what date that was, but anyway, he was born part of the Russian Empire. He died in 1950. He was born in 1886. Eddie Albert, the American actor, Roman Holiday, Green Acres, I remember him in that. He dies of pneumonia at 99 years old. Wow. 2005, Napoleon Bonaparte is crowned King of Italy. I think they crowned him king of everything, didn't they, for a while there? 1805, Peter Cushing, English actor, Dracula. Star Wars, Doctor Who, born Surrey, died 1994, born 1913. Rhinestone Cowboy, the single by Glenn Campbell, Billboard Song of the Year in 1975. 1975, Rhinestone Cowboy. It was a good song. You know, he was, Pete, he was a session musician. He was just picked up by accident. Again, right place, right time.
I'm waiting for someone to pick me up.
Oh, God, I am too. Oh, look, Pete, it's okay. Someone will pick us up. Somewhere along the way. We can't wait, we can't wait. Sally Ride, American astronaut, first American woman to go into space, born in Los Angeles. She died in 2012, but born in 1951. The inaugural 24 hours Le Mans endurance race for cars starts through public roads in Le Mans, France. The inaugural winners, and a whole lot of French names here I can't pronounce, but that was 1923. There is a car over there, it's an XK1. Have I run out of time?
You're not looking at me, sorry. You're not looking at me, sorry.
I've had my 5 minutes of dates, all right. So there's a car over there, it's an XK150, and that, not that particular car, but that model was in the Le Mans 24-hour race. Wonderful, wonderful car. Anyway, Peggy Lee, one more. 1920, Peggy Lee, American singer, Fever, songwriter. She was an actress. I spoke to her once. Very quietly spoken lady, I remember that. I kept on thinking, is it all right to say to a big star, could you speak up? Because I could barely hear her. I remember that so clearly. The things you do remember. Anyway, I remember her, well, not mostly, but I remember her fondly for that song called Is That All There Is? About the circus, joining the circus. Or she loved the circus, and she finally went to the circus, and she looked around and said, is that all there is? And then she met the man she loved, and then she thought, is that all there is? I mean, it was a very depressing song. You could do that about anything, couldn't you, really? Is that all there is? Well, God, no. Life is what you make it. Okay. I don't know. I ain't going to be picky. But let's go back to this Stan Grant thing, because I don't want to leave that. I see that there are some other sort of, I won't call them token people, but people hopping on the bandwagon at the ABC saying, I'm going to resign too, along with Stan Grant. I need a break. Poor little petals. Poor little petals. These people have been dishing it out for years and years and years, and because something like 2,000 or 5,000 people contact the ABC and say, we did not appreciate your coverage of the coronation. They can't handle it. My God. Anyway, after all the chest beating and the carrying on by Stan Grant and the theatrical stuff performed by the ABC, that grovelling apology to Stan from the head of the ABC, pardon me, Stan's heartfelt, tearful departure from Q&A, telling us that he will be back. Can I make a prediction? I make a prediction. You want to make a note of this, Pete?
Yeah, well, it's been recorded, Jeremy.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll consider that to be a note. I think he'll be back. My prediction is that Stan Grant will be picked up, if he hasn't been already, by Channel 10. He will head the project. This program, it has never worked. It's a left-wing lost cause. I could say the same thing about Q&A. I could say the same thing about the ABC. But you watch. Stan Grant heading up the irreverent, and one could facetiously say the irrelevant, people on the panel. Channel 10 these days is not the station I used to work for. Nowhere near it. Why would Paramount in America, CBS, persevere with all of that crap? The project, I mean. They've got other things, but why would you want a program and persevere with it when time has told you clearly, and your audience has told you clearly, that it doesn't work and they don't want to watch it? Is that called flogging a dead horse? I think it is. Extinction Rebellion, ladies and gentlemen. We must talk about that. There's another branch of this called Scientists' Rebellion. They were active in Melbourne a few days ago. There's probably nothing more sad than intelligent people who don't use their brain. Anyway, Extinction Rebellion lady hanging off the Morford Street Bridge. You would be aware of it if you live here in Adelaide. She and her fellow activists will be sent, I understand, a bill for the attendance of the police and emergency services people. That's good. That's called consequences. Excellent. Fines of $50,000 will be imposed in future. Nobody else in Australia is doing this, so I praise the Malinauskas government for coming up with it. It should pass through as law fairly smoothly. Most people would agree with it, I think. They certainly do in the court of public opinion. Now, when these people pulled a similar stunt in Germany, I think we talked about it, didn't we, Pete? At the BMW showroom?
Well, Volkswagen, wasn't it?
Was it Volkswagen or BMW?
I thought it was Volkswagen.
Well, it was one of the two. The authorities left them there in the showroom, glued to the floor. They turned off the air conditioning, they turned off the lights, and just left them there. Great idea. You see them lying there in the dark and in the cold thinking, well, hang on, what do we do now? Great idea. Now this woman, don't know who she is. She had a slight accent. I heard her talking to the media, which is what it's all about. Of course, the media gives these people the oxygen that they so desperately want. Anyway, this woman hanging off the Morford Street Bridge caused peak hour traffic chaos. Cars banked up for miles as a precaution. She was way, way above the traffic. My advice would have been, hey, leave her there. Just leave her there. As I say, she was way above the traffic, not in any danger.
It was a bit like a double-decker bus at Cavalry.
No, well, look, fate is hard to predict. But the point is there are consequences for bad behaviour. As I say, she was way above the traffic. Leave her there all day. By night, I'm sure she would have seen the light. Let her be inconvenienced and not the general public. For God's sake, And these people work on the basis of saving the planet, and as I've said to you, their whole raison d'etre is to get people, say, for example, into battery-driven cars. And do you know, they conveniently forget the little 9-year-old girls and boys in Namibia and all these other African countries where these kids under slave conditions are mining the rare earth, the lithium, that goes into the batteries, that produces this new world that these people want us to have. Where is their morality there? It doesn't exist. I should change the subject, as I'll blow a fuffer valve. You know, of course, this move to do away with AM radio. It started out with this push originally to FM because it had a purer sound. The sound was better. It is, and it isn't. It's arguable. There are pluses and minuses. I wouldn't mind so much if we went with the American model, where in fact they have all kinds of formats successfully on air, on FM, including talk radio. All kinds of radio on FM. Now, here we've got a different mindset. These people are locked into, FM is for music and nonsense and stupidity and carrying on and crazy stupidity, juvenile nonsense. No, it doesn't have to be like that. The next step in this crusade against AM, if you'll pardon me, has been the motor car. They would like motor cars to no longer have AM radios. In fact, there are some models, Volvo, and I think, is it MG? But there are some cars that have come out and proudly said, like it's a selling point, we will not have AM radio in our cars. They will have FM and DAB, digital audio broadcasting. Now, the trouble with that is that if you're in a car and well, it's not the best arrangement. The AM signal goes around corners, over hills, over buildings. It's enormously accessible. It goes for hundreds and hundreds of miles. You know, you can sit in bed and listen to a radio station in Sydney after sundown. I don't know what it is, something in the atmosphere enables you to pick up AM signals from, 1,000 miles away. Amplitude modulation. That's what AM stands for. And it's a very, very good, tried, tested and true system. Sure, it's not as sexy as FM. And I can tell you that it's a whole lot more useful, particularly for emergencies. All those emergency services upon which we rely when incredible moments of need arise, are broadcast on AM radio. The advice is given to us that in the event of an emergency, it could be an earthquake, a tidal wave, anything, a fire, bushfire, tune your radio to an AM radio station and listen for instructions. Now, how are you going to do that without AM? If you're going to get rid of AM radio in cars, they'd like to get rid of it altogether, I suspect, and in the radio community, what are you going to replace it with? FM? No. DAB? I can't see that. I don't think so. Anyway, in America, they have passed a law. God bless America, as Kate Smith used to say. God bless America. Irving Berlin wrote that. God bless America. In America, they have passed a law that says AM radio will stay. It will remain in cars. It is a mainstay of information at the moment in America and Australia, and I would suggest to everyone that AM radio, while some of the stations are dying, I mean 2GB, 3AW, 4BC, they are not dying. They are, I think, very well run. But AM radio stations in Australia are in trouble. I can't suggest otherwise. Some might say they are dying. Probably more because of programming and strategy decisions and deficiencies than the fact that they are on that frequency. Management, talent, lack of direction. Now, don't blame the frequency. Don't blame AM for that. AM is good. Thanks for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Have a lovely weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on Monday. Bless you. Believe in yourself and thank you. Bye for now.